I won't, but that's okay. All right. It is November 19th, a balmy Wednesday afternoon. No, it's cold as shit. Welcome to Ops Coach's Call, joined as always by the illustrious Jeff Harwell, the dazzling Monica Cahalan, and the sensual Dr. Dave.
Gladly
Sensual.
qualified all of our titles.
Don't you like that?
Those are good titles.
That's pretty good. I
They
liked
fit.
it. So let's kick it off. And we'll start with the first question. How do you know when it's time to compete again? We started with Jeff last time, so this time we're going to start with Monica, and then we'll go Jeff, and then me. Monica, how do you know when it's time to compete again?
Um, Now I really like to consider other things that are going on my schedule first. So that's just the realistic fact of, I think, essentially because I'm more involved with powerlifting now as a ref and a meet director. And so I just really want to make sure that I have time to dedicate to my prep and be able to give it my all with as minimal interruptions as possible. I mean, there's a lot of life stuff that happens during a prep that you just can't account for. But so that's usually where I start is like making sure that I have the time allotted to dedicate to perform and train the way that I want to in order to hit the platform. That's usually that's just a fact. But like emotionally and physically, the further along I get into powerlifting, the more I realize like a longer off cycle is really important for a lot of reasons. It's harder to recover from peaking like that, so close together. I admire those that do. But recovery is really where it's at there, is again coming back to like making sure the recovery is in place and all that stuff. So, I mean, yeah, I love competing. I would compete all the time if my body allowed it to, but I just listen to my body a lot more than I used to. And that's how I dictate whether I'm ready.
You don't just see a meet pop up and like, oh, I want to do that, and then just sign up for it.
No, I mean, there's a meet I want to do, but it's like a year away. That's the first time ever to, well, I can't say that either. Cincinnati was the same thing. I knew I was going to do that like a year in advance. And so, and the next one I intend on signing up for is Surge in Chicago next October. It's a full year away. Like, that's weird. So, but no, I'm just not I haven't hit that phase yet of like YOLO, let's sign up for a meet in 4 weeks. I haven't ever been there. I don't want anything on open powerlifting that doesn't represent my true self.
Okay. All right, Jeff.
Yeah, I think we're all going to kind of have the same answers because we're all on the older side of things. And
Yeah.
exactly what Monica said, like we want to see, every progress on open powerlifting. So yeah, I'm on that same boat with Monica. It's long off seasons and just I think ideally once a year, around there, once a year, every 18 months or so is when I like to compete at this age. Anything more than that would crush me and kill my body. Not this last meet, but fight or quit, prepped really hard, and it took a long time to come out of that. So, yeah, for me, it's about every year, 18 months is when I want to compete and when I start getting that itch again. I
How many meets have you done so far, Jeff?
think nine.
Nine.
Yeah.
Monica,
I think the same. I think Jeff and
round
I are about the same.
round nine. Yeah, I would say the closer you get to like 10 competitions, when you're picking a meet that's going to be like the meet for the year, like you want to be ready for it. For me and how I know it's ready to compete is I start to get the itch. I start getting the feeling like, okay, training's going the way I want it to go. My body doesn't hurt. I feel like I'm getting close to in range of PRs. Like, let's put a training cycle together. Let's pick a date and let's give myself the time I need to like really reach for those PRs. With where training's at right now, I know I'm pretty far off from what would be a PR as like, I go through this body recomp and strength is changing and leverage is changing and and just trying to focus on the cut and strength will be where it's going to be. I don't rule out doing a competition in that time period, but I understand like it's not going to be like an all-time PR type thing. It'll just be go compete, lift with friends. And I think like that is something fun once you reach like a really elite level of strength is you don't even really have to be top end to go like
Have a good
lift and
time.
put up some big numbers, at a meet and just have fun with it, and treat it like a training session. I think it does give you some flexibility that way. And then at the same time, you can practice your attempt calling on the day, right? And like, can I really put together like a 9 for 9 day doing the most I can absolutely do, or maybe have some fun and, reach for some variation PRs or whatever it's going to be. But just the overall skill of competing, I think it's valuable, to have that every once in a while or do a bench only meet or
Yeah.
something like that. Because you're going to
Right.
get to a point where, you're doing a comp and it's not going to be a comp where you're going to hit a sizable total PR. Maybe if everything's perfect, right, you get 20, 30 kilos on that total at the end of the day. But, sometimes I would say very rarely everything's perfect, right? I'm pretty sure Jeff's the only one here that's gone 9 for 9.
Yeah, I've not gone 9 for 9.
Yeah, Jeff's the only one who's sandbagged enough to go 9 for 9.
I will say too, like sometimes it's not about just is like always maximizing on top of your last performance, right? Maybe you have a different goal for that meet.
Yeah,
And I think the longer I'm in it, the longer I realize like, well, I'm not going to be this strong forever or who never wherever my top end strength is. That's a vapor of a time period that exists. So it's like I want to be realistic and in when I set my goals in the future too, is like making sure that, they're fun too. It's like, oh, I'm going to do this, meet at this body weight and this weight class. And these are the goals that I'm setting because of it and yada, yada, yada. I mean, there's ways to be creative about like still being goal oriented and
yeah.
having a good time with it.
And meet day's still fun. It's
Yeah.
still like cool. I'm gonna schedule a weekend off, go compete with the friends and everything, right? We'll go get dinner, all that kind of stuff. Like you still get all the community and all the excitement and fun parts just being at the meet.
Right.
And I think there's something definitely to be said for that, and not just feeling like if I'm not PRing, I'm not competing. Or even the same way, like you get hurt in the middle of a training cycle, like are you just gonna pull out of the meet like a little fucking bitch, right? Oh, you got a boo-boo, you can't show up and put in your best effort on the day. Like we're not soft like that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I would say too for like beginner folks in just getting started in powerlifting or intermediate, like you should be throwing your hat in the ring more often. It's practice, it's experience. And I mean, I know thankfully I've never bombed out of a meet, but sometimes that's the case. You have one of those or you don't do as good as you did the time before. And it's just put yourself out there.
You're not even a real power lifter. You haven't even bombed.
But
I've gone down,
like
I've
you're
gone down to
collecting data too. Every experience
Yes.
is collecting data. It's not the end all be all anyways. It's not like I mean, I haven't gotten to a point where I've picked out a meet and been like, this is it. It's got to be everything on the line right now. This is it. Like this is just data collecting for who knows,
Yeah,
you
let's see how
know?
this training
Yeah.
cycle went. We made these adjustments. Let's
Yes.
see how they played out. Okay, that worked really well. Okay, that didn't work how we thought it would.
Mm-hmm.
Easy.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot to be said about where you're at in your, your life cycle of training, your training life. I think I did my first 4 meets were all within the first 18 months of training.
Yeah.
So,
Dang.
yeah.
That's
And it was the coach I had at the time just encouraged, he's like, get all these meets out of the way, just get that experience on the platform and get up, like figure out if you even like this before you commit everything to
Sure.
it. So,
fair.
And
but
yeah, especially for like everyone hates that first squat.
Yeah.
Like that's when anxiety is at the all-time highest. Am I at depth? How's it going to feel? Oh, that last warm-up was kind of heavy. I'm
Yeah.
like, yep, that's how it goes. And then you smoke that opener and it's all good to have fun from there.
right. And
Good.
again, collection.
Yeah.
Now, you know that first squat's gonna suck. So
Yeah,
just
you kind of do. Like just Be ready for it. Like, okay, I set the bar too high on my back because it's a squat bar, and I train with exclusively smooth power bars. Good. Yeah, I think we covered that pretty well. All right, second question. Nutritious food can be delicious. What are your favorite meals you've been preparing slash eating lately? Jeff, would you like to dive into how you're keeping that robust body of yours fit?
Robust. So what did you call it last time? Squatty. Um,
Squatty.
right now, my favorite meal is my breakfast, which is 3 cups of oak, I can't say it, Greek yogurt, banana flavored Greek yogurt, um, about 100 grams of peanut butter granola clusters, the kind,
Yes,
granola.
that's my favorite granola.
And then I put like a handful of blueberries, a handful of raspberries in it. It comes out to like 68 grams of protein, 90-ish grams of carbs, and like 14 grams of fat. So
Awesome.
I love it. It's the best.
It does sound really
That
good.
sounds delicious.
Really good.
I was
It's like
like,
a meal.
I said, listen to all that fruit.
Lame. You and your antioxidants. Yeah. Free radicals. That's what you got to worry about. Monica, would you like to?
I talk about my favorite.
Yeah.
I love everything I get to eat, everything I get to make. Man, if anybody saw Dave's story about the Ninja Foodie last week, that's a real thing. It's kind of like, what can we throw in the foodie today and turn into something delicious? Dinner's my favorite. Breakfast and lunch and all the meals in between until dinner are very, I would say, not boring, but very predictable and kind of it's fitting my macros. And I get sometimes the luxury of making my lunch at home and I get way more creative with it and take the time to do something about it. But dinner time is my favorite. We do Euros lately with tri-tip that is super good because we use low carb um tortillas or wraps, and then I make a tzatziki sauce that's out of Greek yogurt. There's like no fat in that. And the beef has been cooking all day in the foodie, and you just
Pickled onions.
yeah, and that's the other thing too is like I think I really enjoy dieting more than I do bulking because I get more creative with aromatics and things that make food taste really good. And so one thing that we do probably once every 2 weeks is I pickle red onions and they're in the fridge and they're amazing to add to like a rice bowl or a wrap or just about anything, but it makes food more bright and exciting and I'm all about the full palate feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So like that's probably my favorite thing is the Greek gyros. That's my favorite thing we make currently. I mean, I could name like six other things honestly
We'll
too,
name one
though.
more.
I made these papusa
Oh, the pup.
things.
Yeah.
They're not pupusas, they're more like a pierogi. I don't know why I keep calling them up, but they're like
Because they
this
look like a
big. They're
papusa.
huge. And the
Uh-huh.
dough is like gnocchi dough, so it's potato and then it's stuffed with meat and cheese on the inside, right? And then you like sear it on a skillet and they're just amazing. And they take a little bit of prep, but it honestly is worth it because you're so like satiated and it's delicious and you don't really crave much for anything after that. Meat and potato.
It's the perfect meal.
Yeah. And
Make
it's
those.
macro friendly. That's the thing too, is like I look at all these things like as Dave's lost 40 pounds and it's like and I've, you know, really made some conscientious choices for us both, but making food really delicious and good. And it's like you look at this plate of food and you're like, I can't believe I get to eat this and I'm cutting right now and it's freaking delicious. So yeah, I could go on all day about cooking and food.
I like it.
Sorry.
It's one of my favorite topics, so I could sit there all day.
Sounds
Yeah,
great.
I'm kind of in the same boat as Jeff right now, where my favorite meal of the day is my second breakfast.
Got
I
it.
technically break my fast with like a 110-gram protein shake that has some non-fat milk in it and a shit ton of cold brew. And I just mix that with 3 scoops of my True Nutrition powder. So it gets something in my stomach right away, gets coffee in me so I can vacate all the contents of my stomach and make room for actual breakfast. But that's what I have at 4 a.m. And so by the time 8 a.m. comes around and I'm freaking hungry.
Hungry, right?
And so that's the biggest thing. Like I noticed from like this cut versus, being over 300 pounds for a decade is like I was eating when I wasn't hungry just to like get calories in and eat. And now like every time a meal comes up, I'm starving. And I eat the whole thing and it tastes delicious. So my go-to breakfast has two slices of sourdough toast. Uh, and then I make up about 180, 200 grams of shredded potatoes, frozen shredded potatoes, and do a hash brown. I just put a little Pam spray in the pan. Um, makes it nice and crispy. I don't need butter or anything like that. And then I use three slices of Kraft singles, and I put a slice on each piece of toast, and then I put the hash browns over that, and a slice on that, right? And then I take four eggs over easy, over the top, and it makes my favorite kind of breakfast,
It
which
looks
is
pretty good.
runny eggs on toast. And
I'm
that's about another 50 to 60 grams of protein. It's under 35 grams of fat. And so like fats for me, I try and keep it below 110 a day. And that makes it super easy with that breakfast. I don't have a high fat lunch, and so I can kind of really get some fattier cuts of meat for dinner. And especially for like I have a shake and I eat three meals, right? Like that's what my schedule has time for. That's what my body prefers. I don't like trying to cram more meals in throughout the day. It just doesn't feel good to me. And then I'm done eating dinner and I can just not eat till the morning. So I get a nice little like fasted and actual like blood glucose processing can drip down over the night rather than slamming, nighttime calories. But yeah, carb wise, if it's a training day, I'll add about 6 ounces of grape juice to that meal as well. So I can get about 150, 160 grams of carbs for that first opening breakfast. And I can get another, 200 grams of carbs for lunch and be ready to go for a training session. But
That's
yeah,
great.
breakfast, I think breakfast, growing up, I never ate breakfast really. I'd put it off. I was never hungry in the morning, that kind of thing. And so it's a cool thing now, it feels like, to actually like have hunger in the morning and be able to throw down a big breakfast because then I just feel fueled and that much more satiated way later in the day rather than just dying around 2, 3 o'clock.
Sure.
Yeah.
You tried doing the hash browns in the foodie yet?
Um,
No,
no, I'd have to figure out a higher heat setting.
the saute setting.
Yeah.
You're
Ah,
welcome.
I wonder if that would work. We just got one too. They're on sale at
Oh my
Costco.
God. Oh my God.
dude, it's the good. I think this is the biggest part of taking food prep serious is investing in some good cookware, right?
Oh,
Some good
yeah.
pans, good slow cookers or a
Air
griddle,
fryer.
air fryer, right? Like the better tools you have to make stuff, like the more fulfilling those meals are going to be. And you're not going to feel like you're on a diet. You're going to feel like I get to eat fucking awesome food all the
Right.
time.
Well, we save a ton of money from all the not eating out food that we don't
Right.
do, but
Yeah.
I mean, we put it into our groceries, but we were
Yeah.
talking the other night how it's like we don't even want to go eat out anymore because it's not satisfying. It's never as good as the stuff that we make at home, and not to sound snotty, but I mean we make good food.
And it's like if I'm going to go out and eat, like, cool, I'm going to wreck my gut for this meal. And like, it
Exactly.
better be a damn good meal, kind of
Yeah.
thing. Not like just your regular whatever restaurant in town you've been to a million times.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, it's not worth it to me when you're spending $300 a week on groceries, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Because that meal is going to be $300 anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
It's like, is this meal taste as good as a week's worth of groceries? Guaranteed not.
Right.
Guaranteed not, especially how good this one cooks.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I want
ridiculous.
to try the pupusas the next time we come up.
Oh man, I'll send you a recipe for it. I'll add that in your meal plan because it's really fun to make too. Ben would have fun making it too.
Shout out to Sports Nutrition with Coach Monica, where you get to eat really good food and lose weight
Yeah.
doing it.
Lose weight doing
Gain
it.
weight, whatever your stupid goals are. All right, let's move to the next question. I'll kind of lead off with this one. We can talk about it a little bit more. The question is, can you talk about microdosing exercises throughout the day? Why or when would you want to implement those strategies? So let's talk about microdosing exercise. If we look at a regular training schedule has a predetermined frequency of training. I train 4 days a week, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. That's your frequency schedule. But there's a lot of time in one day, right? And so we're going to go all balls out for 2 hours and then potentially just not move the rest of the day. Seems like could be leaving some low-hanging fruit on that tree that we could be picking. And so microdosing exercise is picking 1 to 2 exercises, not very many, right? But things that you can do constantly throughout the day. Examples I have are push-ups. When I have people really struggling to improve their bench, I tell them first thing, push-ups are the key, and you need to be doing them every single day. And I'll give them a goal to start with. Typically, it'll be 50 with the goal of pushing up to 100 push-ups a day. And there's a lot of time in a day. There's plenty of time to do 10 push-ups 10 times in a day, right? Or 5 sets of 10 for 50 or 2 sets of 25, whatever it is. There is all the time in the world in the day to get that work in, and it's not going to leave you exhausted, right, for your next training session. You may be sore, you may have some fatigue from accumulating that volume, but that's a good thing, especially if you're in an off season or especially if you're trying to bring up a legging lift, right? Or especially if you have poor internal rotation on a hip or just something with your body that requires constant movement. Like for me, I try and do as many one-legged step ups off of a step in my garage as I can do in a day. Every time I go out to the garage, I try and make myself do a set of 10 step ups on each leg so that I can keep my hips happy, I can keep my glutes active throughout the day, and my body learns to adapt to that stimulus. It was the same thing with Keith. And Keith wanted to hit the 400 bench. And I told him every time you walk through a doorway, you should do 10 push ups. Right. And then I get a message from him at 11 a.m. I've already done 170 push ups today. Cool. You're going to bench 400 that much quicker. Right. We've seen it with Emily and Angela's bench presses, right? Just skyrocketing because they're doing 50 push ups every
Every
single day. They have accountability, right? And they're like, yeah, they're sore and yeah, they're beat and tired a little bit, but they're getting strong. And Emily just benched 170 for a triple, which is our comp PR,
yeah.
Yeah.
right? Again, it's just little doses of exercise that we can put in throughout our day to help with work capacity, to help with conditioning, right? There's lots of different ways we can implement that. A good way to do it is to start with just a bare minimum, something you know you can do and do it for 2 weeks every single day. That's 14 days in a row, no excuses, right? And then add from there. And if you can chain another 2 weeks, you kind of keep adding. But it's a great way to get more training in when you're not in the gym. Jeff, do you have something, if you look at your clients right now, is there something you think they could benefit from doing a little bit more each day?
Well, yeah, I've also implemented the push-up thing.
Ah,
That I want 5 AMRAPs a day, every day. Um, when I saw this question come across, I thought about it in a little bit different way, not so much as microdosing exercise, but like skill adaptation,
yeah.
and where you're going for a walk or you're sitting there at kids' baseball game, practice pulling the bar into your body, practice your squat setup, your rooting, your brace, all that. You look like a psychopath, but get
Practice.
those 10,000 reps so much faster by doing it in that off time and not just, your 5 sets of 3 every week that you're doing. So that's how I thought of that question anyway. And
I think that's perfectly, yeah, I think that works great because like you said, skill acquisition, it's becoming in touch with how your body creates tension, how it sets up, right? And like when you do it right, you'll feel the difference versus
right,
when you did it wrong or not as tight or all those kinds of things. And it kind of helps you assess where's your body at, right? Like, can I squat, right? Just without weight on my back, just normally here in the park? No. Okay, what do I have to work on then?
right. Go roll your ankles out, go open your
Yeah.
hips. You got to do. And I mean, you're just standing there anyway. You might as well be moving and moving around and being productive, I guess is the right
Yeah.
word. Yeah.
Yeah. Be that weird parent at T-ball that's just stretching while watching the kids.
I'm that guy. It's so
Oh,
weird.
yeah, boys. What about you, Monica? You have some
Oh,
thoughts?
I'm usually a big fan of steps just because I work a lot with clients that not only like coach but nutrition as well, and that's something that people are usually kind of under on a typical human standard basis. And so I'm always a huge advocate of microdosing the 10-minute walk or 10-minute activity post meal. Just because science says that's the most effective way to lower your glucose naturally. It's better than like metformin or insulin. And so I'm a huge fan of that for microdosing
Do you have a
exercise.
step count you typically recommend?
Over 10,000.
Over. None of this bullshit
That's minimum.
of
Like,
fucking 8,000, 6,000. You don't need studies say that 10,000 really doesn't give you much gains. The fuck it doesn't. You do 10,000 plus every single day for 20 years or more, and you don't think that's going to have a higher rate of return than 6 to 8,000, which is good enough.
I
But
mean,
our heart only has so many pumps. So if you
Yeah,
take
it's
those
got
extra
plenty of
pumps,
them.
but
and
there's
not
only so many. So you're using too many of those pumps.
too many pumps. You only got so many pumps.
I'm on zone 7.
I some of us naturally have a higher need. We get more steps in because of either our occupation or just our nature of being a busy human. But I mean, I have two clients right now that I have them at like between 15 and 17,000 a day because that's what their body requires to make the things happen in their body that they want to have happen. And so everybody's different. But I mean, as far as like microdosing, exercise, I just think it's pretty standard. 10-minute walk after you eat.
Yeah,
10-minute movement. You can like do body weight squats,
yeah,
or push-ups is a great time to throw your push-ups in there because it's some kind of movement. It's signaling your body of what to do with the material you just took in. So instead of like powering you down and taking time to digest it and store it as fat, you're cueing your body like, no, this is readily available energy I can use right now. And so you're creating your insulin sensitivity becomes better because of it.
we can always do more.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
some people like to get in a contest of how little they can do and still make progression, but it's definitely way fucking easier if you go the opposite way and just try and do as much as you can do and then taper down from there. Crazy concept. Good. I think we ran into that one at full speed. I like it. All right. Uh let's go to what's an overrated accessory movement or an underrated accessory movement when done a specific way. Jeff, can you think of an overrated movement or potentially an underrated movement if done differently?
I thought of both. I think
Good. Do
uh,
both.
an overrated accessory movement is hip thrust, weighted hip thrust, or glute bridge, I guess. I think they're relatively silly, and range of motion for a lot of people isn't where it needs to be, and you can build your glutes in a lot more effective ways. Um, and I think Copenhagen. like I don't know, anything with adductors, honestly, and in powerlifting especially. I think they're very underrated. I don't see people doing enough adductor work, and it's very obvious in your squats when you're not doing them. So I think that's a very underrated one. As far as like a variation of an accessory, I'm a big fan of everything Seth has been putting out, Dr. Seth.
Yeah,
And like the way he explains the why he's doing his accessories. I was watching one this morning about like him, him and I have a very similar builds. I'm not nearly as muscular and wide
sure.
as he is, but built like legs and arms wise length. How he does his chest supported rows is to support his deadlift, and he's really rolling the shoulders over, long reaching, and then thoracically extending back up through it, and then pulling the arms through to support his deadlift, and like just I don't know. I think he's a genius. So I really
Yeah.
like as he explains the variations of accessories.
So really making sure, right, like to maximize range of motion, especially if you're looking for some hypertrophy, right? And
Yeah,
if we have a big connected chain movement like a row that creates opportunity for protraction of the shoulder, right? Which then we have to retract and then we have to extend, right, through our T-spine after that, on top of the lat contraction to touch low in that row, right? Like, yeah, it creates an awesome stretch from all the way in the bottom to extension all the way in the top, right?
yeah,
And so, like, that execution and that idea of create as much of a range of motion as possible in a lot of circumstances, right? It is going to give you the best bang for your buck in the
exactly.
majority of your exercises, especially if you're going for hypertrophy or a really specific carryover.
Exactly. Yeah, the carryover. And that's the like I think that's what he explains the best is why the like I said, explain the why of he's doing this accessory for this specific carryover into the specific range of motion or part of his movement. So
Yeah. I mean, I especially with bent over rows, like that, I've had those in my programming the last like almost 2 months and just building it back up from 275 to 405 on bent over rows. Like yesterday, I pulled the easiest like sumo PR ever on a stiff bar. And it's like, oh, my back's strong. So I don't have to worry about losing shape. Oh, I can manhandle 405, right? So, oh, everything around that, I can row it. So how hard is it to stand up with it, right?
right.
Monica, do you have some underrated, overrated exercises?
Underrated is anything like unilateral leg. I think that's like so freaking important in powerlifting because it builds stability and balance and helps. There's so many things it does. Like talk about like hits your adductors, ways to hit your pelvic floor in different ways. I mean, that's another way to access it instead of just doing ab work, is unilateral leg work. And you can do so many different variations. You can make it very quad biased or biased or depending on the movement. But I just think like if I had to do one leg movement, a split squat, for an accessory forever, that would keep my entire core and my entire leg strong.
Mhm.
So
Um,
I almost put that as my overrated because I don't think
oh, how
people, no, specifically because I don't think people load them well enough.
fair. Or make them or change the difficulty of them, right? You can split squat on a Bulgarian stand or, in a stance forever and ever and ever. But like, how about you elevate your foot? How about you add a rotation to it? How about you add a deficit to one of the, positions or, turn
Or
a one and a,
stand in on the
yeah,
front foot.
instability on the foot. Turn it into a 1.5 rep, a 1.25 rep. I mean, isometric it. Like, there's so many different ways you can perform that movement. And I think it's just absolutely essential.
Yeah.
I'm a the hard thing about the overrated part for me is that there's so many reasons to do things as long as the reason like it the intention is set for why you're doing it, right? Like the carryover factor, like you were saying, like when we're doing our accessory movements, we want to make sure that those accessory movements are helping us feel or access ranges of motion that are going to support us on the barbell. Or like there's so many mobility movements that look silly, like a lot of banded crap that we do for rehabbing things or getting joints lubricated, that kind of a stuff. Some of those look silly when there's a lot of bodybuilding crap that looks kind of, overrated. I think as long as the intention in place the movement is specific to the intention, then you can't go wrong. I just think as far as powerlifting goes, it's just keeping it simple and keep making sure that things apply to it. But it's really hard for me to say that something is overrated because I could find a reason to implement just about anything. And I usually do. So I don't know. That's a hard one for me, I guess. But I do agree with the hip thrust thing as far as powerlifting goes, because that's such a waste of time. If you and also girls, if you want a butt, deadlift and squat. Like that's how you build a real butt. Pick stuff up heavy. It's not cable kickbacks.
with tens. Yeah, overrated. I almost want to say low RPE effort accessories. There's some mobility stuff and restorative things that are super helpful. I totally get it, right? Like you don't need to add a ton of weight to a T3 raise, right? Um, but I think especially in the context of strength training, too many people forget that accessories should be hard and that you should be trying to use more weight. It was just like we were talking about with the split squat. Like a split squat's great, but if you can bang out sets of 12 to 15 reps, right, and they're pretty smooth and fast, that needs to be loaded. And that was something we did last month where I had them do split squat fives. And I said, at minimum, you have to have a 40-pound kettlebell or dumbbell in each hand, no matter who was up, right? And oh, people discovered they could do like 70 pounds, right? And like really load that thing up. Same thing with like our step ups. And like, okay, if you're really good at a step up to a moderate height box, how about you do a safety squat bar step up then, right? And you put 3 plates on it and do a step up to a lower height box and see how that taxes you. Um, which kind of leads into what I think of as underrated for powerlifting is heavy core work, whether that's loaded carries at a high RPE, 8 or more, Zercher carries, yoke carries, farmers walks, overhead carries, right? Things that actually like demand tension to stabilize your body. Um, and as powerlifters, we get really stuck in just moving up and down. But all of our stability comes from being able to resist torque and rotational force. That's where we create stability is resisting that. And so if we never are rotating or throwing in some sort of oblique work or um, Russian twist off a glute ham raise, right? If we're not actually taxing our torso, right, to
So
twist, hold stability, rotate, hold stability, like it sucks. It's hard,
it's
right? It should
hard.
hurt
Yeah,
afterwards. But when the core is strong, all the transfer of force is so much higher than when that core is weak and gassed out. And like planks are great, dead bugs are great and stuff like that. But like, again, add a level of difficulty, right? Make the dead bug banded, right? Make the plank weighted or moving, right? Or moving laterally. There's so many other positions we should be as athletes trying to force ourselves into that is going to increase our overall durability and resiliency, right? And that's what our accessories are there to do is increase durability, resiliency, and hypertrophy. And I feel like when we can cover a lot of different planes of motion, right? And not just moving up and down or forward and back, but we get some lateral movement in there, we get rotational movement in there. When we have things like that in our training, we become so much more resilient to injury. And at the same time, we improve power output and just you're that much better athletically being able to move.
exactly.
The resiliency, we were just talking about that on bench, especially. Like, there's a reason we press and do accessory movements in different planes of motion is because what happens if you misgroove your bench? Like, you have to be able to recover it and have the, resiliency to do so. There's a reason we should be training in different planes of motion.
quality. Good.
Quality.
Do you have any comments, Jeff? Anything else you'd like to share?
I don't think so. I think
Good.
I'm good. Yeah.
Good.
Do
You did
you,
well.
Dave?
Excellent. Good. You, Monica?
I'm great.
Excellent. Well, that will conclude our Coach's Call Q&A for the week. We'll get this posted up to YouTube and we'll be good to go. And then we'll get our next one for next month scheduled.
Bye, guys.
Awesome. Thanks for hopping on, guys.